Well, good morning, children. It's good to see you again. If I wish I could see you. Today our story is about Ruth and Naomi, which is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And it kind of is to help teach you that showing love to others will help them to love God and to follow Jesus instead of following the things that the world would like them to follow. Now, as our story starts, we're in the land of Judah, and it had not rained in Judah for a long time, and the crops were all dead, and the grass and the trees were dying, and there was no food for the people because famine had spread throughout the land, and so they were all getting hungry, and so this one family, led by a man named Elimelech, decided that they had to do something kind of drastic to go and make sure that their family survived. "We must go to the land of Moab," said Elimelech to his wife Naomi. "I hear that everything is green there, and we will have enough food to eat. If we stay here, we will starve to death." So Elimelech and Naomi, with their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, left for the land of Moab. Well, now upon their arrival in the land of Moab, they had enough food to eat and they were happy. But the new country was not like their old country from where they had come. These people in the new country, they worshipped idols. They worshipped an idol especially named Chemosh. He was called the god of fire. He was made of brass, and in his outstretched hands people burned sacrifices. But Naomi and her husband, they continued to worship the true God. They didn't go to worshiping this false god. They worshiped God, and God honored that, and they taught their sons to worship God, the one true God also. But then a very sad thing happened. Elimelech died and left Ruth and her two sons to fend for themselves. Well, it didn't take very long that the sons, they married two Moabite women. So there was Orpah and there was Ruth. Now, normally, these Moabite women, they had been raised to worship this false god, but they honored their husbands, and their husbands taught them about the one true God, and they learned to worship him. So, Orpah and Ruth, they had 10 years. They living in the land of Moab, being blessed. They had 10 years, 10 good years together. So instead of teaching their husbands about the false gods, these women followed their husbands in who they should worship. But now another very sad thing happened. Both of Naomi's sons died also. Leaving Naomi and her two daughter-in-laws again to fend for themselves. So now what was Naomi to do? So life was difficult for the widows, and she missed her people that she had left behind when they left Judah. And so she began to think that she would return to her home place of Bethlehem. "I have heard that the famine is over in my city," she said. She told Orpah and Ruth. "God has blessed his people with good crops once again, and it is time for me to go back home." So Orpah and Ruth, they both cried when they heard Naomi was leaving. "We want to go with you," said her daughters-in-law. Well, Naomi agreed because she had fallen in love with these two women. And so she allowed them to accompany her for a ways. She agreed that it was okay for them to go with her, but after they had already begun their journey, she changed her mind, and she said to Orpah and Ruth, she said, I'm going home to my land, to my country, to my people, but this is your home. Go back to your people and return to your parents' homes and find yourself husbands among your own people. Well, Orpah, she cried and she kissed Naomi goodbye, and she went back to her people. But Ruth didn't want to leave. She said, "Don't make me leave you, for I want to go wherever you go, and to live wherever you live. Your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God." Naomi's example to Ruth had led her to believe in Jesus and in the God of Israel, and to want to worship him and to go with Naomi. So Naomi could see that Ruth had made up her mind. She wanted to go with her. So Naomi and Ruth walked happily toward the land of Judah where Naomi had once lived. They kept walking until they came to the village of Bethlehem. Well, so much had happened since Naomi had left her country. She was probably both sad and happy to be home. It was good to see the purple grapes and the fields of golden corn and all the grass, because it had not been like that when her and her family had left years before. And she was glad to see her friends. She had missed the people that she had grown up with. But some of her friends noticed that Naomi didn't look like she did when she had left. Her eyes were very sad, and her face was wrinkled now. She was older. "Is it really, really you?" a woman asked. She said, "Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara." Naomi means pleasant, but Mara means bitter. For much sadness had come into Naomi's life. "I want to change my name because now I am sad and not happy like I was when I lived here before." But God was going to change all that in the days to come. Her neighbors and friends might have prayed for her to receive joy again. We don't know that for sure, but good friends do that. So Naomi showed a spirit of unselfishness when she asked her daughters-in-law to return to their parents. She could have asked them to come with her. It may even have been her right to ask them to come with her, but she offered to let them go back home to their homes and release them from their obligations to her. And God honored her spirit and blessed her by having Ruth remain with her. And not only that, Ruth then began to follow Naomi's God too. So if you're at home and you have parents or siblings that are watching this with you, here are some questions for you to think about. Number one, why did the family leave their home to go to Moab? Back at the first of the story, we talked about why they left. The second question would be, so what was the danger in moving to Moab? And if you don't remember, here's a little hint. Think about who they worshiped in this foreign land. And the third question, why do you think Ruth chose to go with Naomi, to leave her home and move back to Judah with Naomi when she could have had the choice to stay? I just pray that that you are enjoying your time off, that you're enjoying your time with your parents, and I just pray that you would have a good week this week. Until next time, goodbye.